All right, hello and welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We are playing One Ring Second Edition today. We are continuing our Waking of Angmar campaign, and two players have been arrested, and they didn't listen to me when I told them they need to make backup characters. They just threw memes
Which
at me.
was told today?
No. I mentioned it last week.
No, you did not. No, you did not. It's not in my notes.
So if I'm going high register, it means I'm being truthful. Isn't that how that works? So yeah, we're in Tharbad. We had a very lengthy journey. You can see the Tharbad if you're watching this somewhere. You can see the Tharbad map on the screen. We explored some of it, but not all of it. It's a decently sized city, although it's a very ruined city. So there's not as much as there was way back when. But before we get into all that, let's go ahead and introduce the players and characters, and then we'll get started. So, Long, tell us about Floyd, and could you also remind us exactly what Floyd is doing right now?
Yeah, I'm playing Floyd, a dwarf. If you don't know me by now, I enjoy treasure, hunting for it, collecting it, hoarding it. Right now, I'm on my way back to the inn. Nice Timothy's inn to have a nice night. Nice little sleep.
Exactly. The bridge inn, you're like, I'm just going to go to bed. And the rest of them are like, we're going to go get in trouble. And LaFloyd's like, no. I'm going to go for an early night's rest, which is crazy because you're the treasure hunter and you're still like taking the I'm going to go get some rest.
He did have 4 bowls of stew that might have been poisoned.
Might have been.
What are you trying to say? It's poison? It's not poison. You say it's poison. Why are you saying that, Miss Kelly? I thought we were friends.
Oh my God, Timothy. I had to go listen back and be like, what was I doing with that guy? Talking so fast.
It was very aggressive.
I was being really aggressive. I was like leaning in the mic. You can't see my face half the time because I'm leaning so far and so dumb. So stupid. Speaking of Miss Gilly, and probably for the last time, Ashley, go ahead and
very funny.
Miss
April
Gilly.
Fools. I'm playing Gilly Kettlegrass. She is our Bree hobbit. And she did give herself up so that Aruniel would not be the only person taken to jail. She tried desperately to convince them that we were hunting for ghosts. And they kept telling me that we were trying to steal rocks. So, I
think you've reframed that incorrectly. You were trying to steal the master's stone, not rocks. Anyone can take rocks. These are stone. You're going into a building trying to steal a stone. You had it in your pockets. It's very clear. These are not very intelligent guards, as there never are intelligent guards.
Really, did they plant stone in your pockets?
They just put a little dime bag of like.
Could you imagine
just suddenly appear?
They come and they take this like big piece of stone, like the size of Gilly, drops it down next to her. See, she was trying to smuggle this out. I'm
What's
like,
this
yeah, because I can carry that.
They go through your pack, drop a giant stone. Oh, look what you found here.
He comes walking in from another room to just drop it next to me.
Ma'am, can you tell us exactly what this is? You care to explain yourself for this? Oh my God. That'd be great. We should just do. Well, actually, we still haven't done our Law and Order thing. Remember that idea from like years ago? I know.
Oh, we need to write that up.
Don't talk about it too much.
Okay.
Don't talk about it too much. But one day we'll do it. We should do a Blade Runner. Blade Runner would be perfect for it, actually.
Oh.
Okay, we got to revisit that later.
Okay.
Next up, the other person who decided not to make a new character, Melissa. Tell us about Aruniel.
So I am as stubborn as Aruniel with this. She is really not on board with this. Just repeat back whatever crime they want to ascribe to Aruniel and Gilly. But yeah, she is our champion ranger of the North. And she's not particularly thrilled about the circumstance that she finds herself in.
You got this fancy new sword, and I've already taken it back.
They have it.
I've already pulled the classic GM thing. Gave you too much magical items, and so I'm taking them back. Classic. Oh, goodness.
Because I, unlike others, when I get something like that, I want to keep it in hand. I don't want it to leave.
It was way worse too, because it was like originally it was just going to be a stone charge, but then you had weapons on you, and so now it's a weapons charge right on top of it too. You guys are in so much trouble. And one of the smart characters who decided not to get arrested. We've got, I know it's weird for me to say that for Steven, but we've got Daggett.
What?
One of the smart characters. I just said it right
Introducing me with the compliment. Oh, it warms my heart.
there. The second best dwarf.
We don't have the yearning
show.
emote. Stop.
I know, we gotta get that. I see a Chuck in chat. Oh my god, what's up, man?
Yeah, so I am playing.
Party.
Okay, you tell me to introduce, and then you start talking to chat. Okay, you just had to take it back after being nice to me.
All right, I'm sorry. I take it
Hi,
back.
Chuck.
I'm sorry, Steven. Go ahead and tell us about your character. We're all very excited.
All right, so I'm playing Daggett, the second best dwarf in the party. He is a dwarf captain, so that makes him the leader of the group. He's very bossy, and right now he is stalking the prison, wondering if he should attempt to break out Gilly and Renial. I did ask them throughout the week several times if they want me to try to break them out, and they never gave me a definitive answer. I really don't know what I'm going to do.
You have a choice in front of you, and we don't envy you that choice, and therefore we have left it to you as your choice.
But I did say that I had a surprise for the session, and I wasn't lying. Jeff, last week you gave me trouble for not cosplaying as Daggett.
Steven,
Next roll.
you're the best.
That is now rectified.
You are the best, man. That is fantastic. You look wonderful. You look wonderful. That's gonna get hot, but you look wonderful. Oh my goodness.
I'm used to being hot.
You can use that until your actual beard gets that length, and then you're good to go, right? Oh my god.
Yeah, just another few years.
All right, Long, balls in your court.
Hey.
All right. You look fantastic, Steven. All right, let's hit our summary and then we'll get started. So we are in Tharbad, I already mentioned. We had a terrible misunderstanding with Vanek and how to help the farmers outside the city. You managed to sort of rectify the situation to some degree. You set to fulfilling your promises. Daggett, you actually started repairing their fences. Quite literally, you were mending fences. And then the rest of you were kind of either helping or you're searching around for tracks because there's all this stories about wargs or wolves that have been attacking the countryside, etc. And Floyd, Renil, you discovered evidence that a turkey had been dragged away, found this hill, this nearby tree where you saw it kind of devoured and sort of ripped apart. You eventually took some tracks down to the shore of the Grey Flood River, which is a kind of a much dampier, swampier area than you've passed by over the past week. You found a rickety pier and this sort of broken stone statue type stuff in the water and signs that the pier had been used relatively recently. Night eventually fell, though, and you decided to venture into Tharbad at that point. And you quickly learned about Master Gurnow's rules, all 7 of them, and how to pay a toll to enter the city. Now, Tharbad, very old city. Its outer districts are effectively ruins, overrun vegetation, trees, that kind of stuff. Even random sheep are kind of moving about here and there. There have been some rumors that you kind of eventually hear about ghosts and things haunting the districts at night. They're off limits. City guards, local merchants you spoke with as well. They warned you not to squat. Can't squat in any of these places, that you have to go to specifically an inn, and they directed you to the Bridge Inn. There you met my favorite character, Timothy Titus, my favorite non-old lady character, Timothy Titus, who's an ex-bandit turned innkeep, had big old ham hock hands. He had a very aggressive and very threatening, but also accommodating demeanor at the same time. He spoke a little bit about Gurnow. Gurnow kind of kept the city together as sort of the general idea, but through cruelty and sometimes unreasonable means. He has several sons, that is Gurnow does, who are constantly kind of fighting or squabbling here and there, and that's the way the old man wants it because he doesn't want to give up his position. You also learned that he has a wife by the name of Lady Stock, who is sort of trying to maintain some sense of decorum and civility, but also doesn't really like rangers, I think you might have learned as well. Titus also confirmed that some of the dwarves that were hired to repair the bridge tried to escape the city without permission, but were caught and then pilloried in the southern portion of the city, which is inaccessible currently because until morning at least, because there's a ferry that takes you there. Prior to this, they were on the middle island, you learned, which is where most of the crafters have to stay. That's the requirement as per the laws of Gurnow. Now, the dwarves that tried to escape apparently were making a claim that they were just looking for more stone, and that the stone at Garth Toran, which is this crumbling fortress in the city, didn't contain the kind of stone that they needed. So after dinner, you all visited the fortress. When I say you all, I mean everyone but Floyd. I can't remember if Floyd went. Floyd, you didn't go there, right? I can't remember if you actually went there or if you just decided to stay. But whatever it is, you went over to the fortress, tried to figure out whatever you could about the stone quality of this place. Aurenial and Gilly got caught by passing guards. They got taken into custody. They got their weapons taken. You got charged for stealing the master's stone. Daggett, you started following them into the shadows, and you saw them get taken into the Red Palace, where Master Gurnow holds court. So that's where we're at, or that's what happened last time. And so why don't we go ahead and let's get started. So let's see what I'm going to do. I'm trying to look for what's the best pre-execution music that I can use. What do we got?
Wait, it's just jailhouse music. It's not. I heard there was a pillory.
I'm going to do a little Celine Dion. Okay. So we're going to start up. We see Aurenial, we see Gilly. They're being led in by these two guards. Hall is in better condition than the lower levels of the palace that were kind of flooded. You can still see signs of ruin here and there. But someone, at the very least, has taken what appears to be great care to account for appearances. So you can see some well-crafted furniture and tapestries that are probably the work of Tharbad's crafters. But those who are occupying some of these pieces of furniture are not really caring so much about maintenance. So you see a dozen or so people in the room. They're sitting, they're leaning, they're laying haphazardly around the hall. Their feet are kind of propped up and crossed on armrests of chairs. Children and dogs are wrestling on what appear to have once been very well-woven rugs. You see a bandit guard over to the right, kind of wiping grease off his chin with this beautiful and colorful tapestry that's now soiled. Remember that there's a balcony that's kind of overlooking this court. And there you can see there's a woman of advanced years who's looking fairly disapprovingly at the display below. But her hair is nonetheless done very, very beautifully, probably about 6 inches tall, giving her about 6 inches in height. And at the far end of the court, you see a man in his 70s. He's got this gray receding hair. He's drinking from a goblet. He's kind of sitting a little bit askew on this impressive wooden chair, sort of throne-like, slightly raised dais. And as the two of you are taking this in, you're scanning around the scene, all these different people. Aurenial, your eyes set on a surprise. As in the hall, in addition to all these strange faces that you've just encountered, there is one very, very familiar face to you. One that you probably didn't expect to find here. In order to sort of describe that, though, I'm going to go ahead and bring Maitreyi in. What do we see when Aurenial stares in that direction?
So as Aurenial is scanning the room and sees the older woman on the balcony looking down disapprovingly, following her gaze with her ranger eyes, she sees she's probably looking most disapprovingly at a woman with long dark hair and dark brown skin and a scar across an eyebrow, who's kind of holding forth to a small group of men and women, and she's just like just obviously describing like either carving or cutting something, and she's kind of gesturing and like laughing really loudly and like really kind of making a show, and to all these disgusted laughs and like ew, and just kind of having a raucous good time with a small group of people. And she looks over and sees Aurenial and Gilly and just like, Eric?
Tara.
And as you two kind of stare at each other, you say your names to one another. You hear like the clearing of the old man's throat, who's up on the dime. Master Gurnow, you would know. Taraneth, you would know that's his name. Obviously, the rest of you could probably presume it. But you see his voice gets very loud. He kind of coughs a bit. Everyone kind of quiets down for a moment. And right there in the middle of the hall, flanking Gilly and Aurinial, are these two guards. And this old man's like,
For what reason have you brought these strangers before me, interrupting my family gathering? You know how much I cherish time with my grandchildren.
and they kind of like look up at, they kind of look up. They look a little sort of concerned. Maybe they made the wrong choice, these guards. But he's like, thievery, Master Gurnow. Thievery of the most awful kind. We caught them around Golf Tehran. They were looking to steal stone. They were, sir. Strangers. We didn't recognize them. And they carry fancy weaponry. And he kind of holds up Aurinial's sword at that point. And the old man kind of looks down, sees Aurinial, sees Gilly.
Who are you? Identify yourselves.
Can Tara step in at this moment?
Absolutely. You totally
Cool.
can.
Yeah. So first she'll look at them. She's like, don't let him cheat. You know how he cheats. And walks away. And Master Gurnow, this is an old friend of mine. This is if your men caught her skulking around, she was probably trying to catch someone in the act of thievery. I mean, with all due respect, Aurinial's never been much of a thief herself.
Which one of these is Aurinial? Is it
The tall one.
Yeah, that's Aurinial, daughter of Moriel. Nice to make your acquaintance, sir.
And Tara goes up to Aurinial and puts a very overly familiar hand over her shoulder and like, so good to see you, Ari.
And like the guards are like,
doing
hey,
here?
these are prisoners, suppose. What, Master, sir? What are we supposed? We arrested them. They were there.
And Master Gurnow, I will vouch for Aurinial, daughter of. Sorry, what did you say? Oriel. And I will vouch for Aurinial, daughter of Oriel.
Well, I think you get to make your first roll.
Hey,
So you're gonna make a persuasion roll. It sounds like. So I'll give you it at favored, which means you'll be able to roll 2 d12s and take the better.
Okay, cool.
So look at your character sheet. Do you have any pips in persuade?
I have 2 in persuade.
Okay, so take out so 2d12s and 2d6s is what you're rolling here.
Okay.
and if you're
And we
rolling on
do
the
have-
sheet, just click next to the feat die where it says favor, ill favor. Just click next to the feat die. So
And do
it
we have any
brightens.
audience dice or anything to use here,
Ooh.
Melissa?
Oh, we only have 51 left over from last episode.
all right.
On.
Okay.
Okay. I no,
Oh,
and it was
Still no
my
good.
first roll I failed,
So
which is so really glad I'm getting this started off as I usually do.
I definitely appreciate when players fail rolls, so that's excellent. So Master Gurnow will say, "Oh,
Calm down.
does he know you as Taraneth?
He does.
He would?
does.
Okay.
Taraneth, please step aside. They might be your friends, but we need to go through proper procedure. If we don't follow the rules for even those who are our friends, then how could anyone in the city ever trust the rules to be
No,
just and fair?
You are right, Master Gurnow. I would not presume to tell you how to run your court. You're right, of course.
So let's
Out
go
of here,
ahead.
don't worry.
Let's go ahead and do a quick council then. I want Aurinial or Gilly to roll a courtesy test. As like kind of Aurinial, Gilly, whichever one of you wants to sort of lead this and kind of take the position in that regard. Go for it.
Do you want me to roll?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Can I have a die?
Absolutely.
I got a great success.
Okay. So this, remember that council, like it depends a little bit on what you're accomplishing. That's going to sort of determine the difficulty, and then the courtesy sort of determines how much long you have. So I'll throw it to you. Are you two just going to try to talk yourselves out of being arrested, or did you have some other additional goal in mind with this?
No additional goal, just
No.
out of being arrested. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
sort of step one is not be arrested.
So if that's the case, I don't think that it's going to be particularly difficult. I would say that's probably just a reasonable request in this case because Taranith has vouched for you already. So we're just going to put it at a resistance 3. You have 4 rolls, and I even say Taranith can participate in this. So Gilly, Ariniel, and Taranith, you have a resistance 3, which basically means you need 3 successes, and you're essentially rolling a skill that's usually social related of some kind, and role playing it out. And then it's just sort of like a skill challenge. You're trying to like hit that number of 3 before 4 turns have passed. Gilly, you already rolled the courtesy. Ariniel, do you want to make a case for yourself? Maybe want to start that off?
Yes. I always love councils and all of my super high scores in social.
Hey, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but this might actually come into play before you do your thing, so that's
Sure.
why I'm interrupting.
Sure.
But is there such a thing as a support role that I can do for Reniel? Specifically, I'm thinking about rolling insight to see what kind of argument would work best.
You can. I would say that you can assist. Like you can assist a person in certain cases, and they would get a bonus D6 on the roll. You can certainly do that. You can also, but it doesn't usually require a roll on your part. You just sort of
Okay.
describe what you're doing. If you're looking to do insight could actually be if you wanted to take a turn, like you could roll insight
it.
and then you could
Got it.
contribute to the, sort of the thing. That would be my suggestion.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll do that.
Go ahead.
Sure. No, you first. I'll go after.
Okay, so Aurenial is going to try persuade. No, she's not. She's going to try awe. She's going to wow them with stories of their exploits and why she has such a cool sword. That's what she's going to try. And I'm going to take an audience. We can take 1 or 2 audience, right?
I don't remember the rule, but if you say so, that's 2. 2 is fine. I don't care.
Okay. All right, I'm going to try awe.
Okay. You're gonna pick up his throat and just sort of press it up in the air with him on it.
All right. Come on, math. 6. Yes, that is a great success.
Okay, so 2 successes. So you've already kind of cut the resistance in half at this point.
And so basically,
what do you say? What do you do?
So Aurenial is just going to, I think she's going to take a little bit of the vibe from the innkeeper earlier. And she's just going to kind of be like, let me tell you what the last 2 years have been like. And you decide if you really think I'm going to spend my time trying to steal some stone. And so she just like goes into like all of the battles and everything that they've been up to and be like, right. So you think that I decided that stone was what I needed to do with my evening tonight.
So as part of that, do you identify yourself? You talk about all these different things. Do you identify what you do and like who you are? Like, do you kind of get into any detail about that at all?
Sure.
You're like, I'm a, Dunedain, Ranger of the North, that kind of thing. So if that's the case,
This is going to go poorly.
It's not going to be a
Yes,
fail. It's not going to be a fail. You're still fine because you passed. It's okay. But you do see he kind of grimaces. And he starts to continue to grimace and almost starts to sink in his chair. And then he kind of looks up a little bit. And you can see his wife, you presume, Lady Stock, on the 3rd level of the balcony, kind of looking down at all of this, has a very perturbed face that has now kind of grown over and replaced a disapproving one that she had on moments prior when it was just her children and grandchildren behaving like slobs. And she just sort of shakes her head, and you kind of hear through the court, which is kind of quieted down at this point. You just hear Rangers.
And Ari, you hear Tara next to you. Don't say you're a ranger.
All right. So the 2 successes. So you're halfway there. He's grimacing. He doesn't have a problem with rangers as much as his wife seems to, but he also knows what just happened. So we still need 2 more successes. So if Gilly or Taraneth want to make a roll to try to win him over at this point now.
I would very much like to make that insight roll I was just talking about.
Go right ahead.
That is.
And by the way, since we have so much audience stuff, if insight isn't already favored, we can take 5 audience and make it favored.
It is favored.
Okay, perfect. Then
I think we should take some of those audience dice and give them to the GM.
I'm pretty sure you have like 9 complications that went along with these.
9 is less than 51, though. Let me do my quick math here. So in this case, you're going to roll the 2. There you go. You got it. All right. So
it's another failure.
Another fail. I am very glad we brought.
Yes. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Fantastic.
I'm sorry. This is how it's going to go.
It's all good. It's all good. So basically you have 4 turns to get 3 successes. And so far you have 2 successes and 2 turns have gone by. So you have 2 more chances to basically just get 1 success. So you're okay. But as you're kind of going through, like maybe he kind of overhears you saying, don't mention something about rangers. You see an eyebrow suddenly raise as if maybe the old man can hear a lot better than he might let on. And he kind of starts doing some math in his head about who you might be. And then he doesn't really act on it so much because you and him have a decent relationship, but it does seem to sort of distract him, and his eyebrows kind of start to furrow because it means you've been keeping something from him. Gilly, do you want to try to salvage the situation at this point?
Yes, please. I would like to spend a hope to enact my true-hearted and do an enhearten roll.
Beautiful. I love it.
That's like a guaranteed success.
She gets the bonus successes or the bonus dice, right?
Yeah, and I'm enacting a distinctive feature, so I get two dice.
You get the 2.
That.
Yep, because exactly.
Nice.
All right. So go ahead and roll it, and then you can act out whatever it is that you say to enhearten this moment. Change the mood, which has kind of soured slightly with the very strong Lady Stock being a little disgusted with one of the party. What do you got?
So extraordinary success.
Okay, so you're gonna win over.
I rolled a bunch of dice.
Okay, yeah, I would imagine.
Gilly's kind of been in the background because it's been Irenial and Tara just kind of up in the front talking, and so she kind of politely clears her throat. I haven't been introduced yet. My name is Gilly Kettlegrass, and I am of Bree. We do greatly apologize, Master Gurnau. Unfortunately, I feel like it was a large, just misunderstanding. We were just admiring your beautiful city. And I am a scholar. I was hoping to write about the ghosts that I've heard about, but I did hear about the ghost pit, so perhaps that's where we should have gone instead.
So you can see that he starts to slink a little further down. He puts the hand on his head as you hear from above the loudest guffaw.
Bree? Ugh. Inbred yokels? In my house? Ugh.
And she just storms away. And then he looks down at you.
That's going to cost me a few weeks worth of cold shoulder. Oh, Bree, is it?
I could perhaps write you a poem you could recite to her as an apology.
No. Romance has been far gone from our marriage. Worry not. Okay, everyone calm down now. Irenial, daughter of someone, Gilly of Bree. One of my trusted scouts and advisors, Taraneth, has spoken on your behalf, and you have listed your impressive accomplishments. I believe this was probably a misunderstanding for now. Return them their weapons. I'm far too old and it is far too late for me to deal with a court hearing at this time anyhow. However, while you are in Tharbad, Erinhil, Giri, I shall tell you, Taraneth, that they are your responsibility. Any further misbehavior, accidental or intentional, shall not just land them in the pillory, but Taraneth will land you on the bad side of Master Gurnow.
He refers to himself in third person.
Sure. Certainly, Master Gurnow. I, your generosity of spirit and your just nature is well storied for a reason, and it is evidenced here today.
He stands up at that point. You hear like 100 cracks as he does like this old man body crack. Generosity. Now, there's no reason to lie. I know that's not what they say about me. Good night. And he like kind of turns and starts walking away. And we're going to cut scenes. And we're going to cut over to Floy, actually. Floy, you took probably the best choice of returning back to the Bridge Inn. And I'm going to give you a moment here as you come back in. You haven't been gone that long, or you probably walked around for a little bit with them, but then you return back. And when you return to the Bridge Inn, you can see it's not as full as when you were last here, which is about half full to 3/4 full, something like that. Now it's only maybe a handful of folks or so that are still remaining. You can see that right at the bar, sitting there is a man in one of those kind of guard suits who has kind of removed this leather helm and set it on the table and is sitting there drinking a large tankard of ale. You can see that Timothy Titus is still sort of moving about a bit, kind of cleaning up, getting in people's faces. I wanted to give you an opportunity. Was there anything else you wanted to do before you turn in for the night?
I'll walk up to the bar with the guard sitting.
Mm-hmm.
Mind if I join you?
He looks over towards you. Sure, Master Dwarf. You can join me. Have a seat.
I'm new to town.
How are you now?
Presume you've been here a while.
Since I was born. And what brings you to Tharbad there, Master Dwarf? You with that other group down over run into some trouble?
I've heard they were in trouble, yeah, but I do know them.
Well, my condolences to you. From what I understand, they have not been cooperative with Master Gurnow's laws, and I imagine that his patience is only going to last a little while longer. Suppose you might be able to get a word or two to say goodbye before set time, as I imagine will be an execution at some point.
Oh, there won't be any of that. They could get a good word in tomorrow morning.
Well, maybe so. It's very optimistic of you, but Master Gurnow doesn't necessarily want to talk anymore about this, I think. The only dwarf he wants to hear anything from is from those two that they got locked up. They've been disrespectful of his law, of his rules, of his name. They lied to him to his face, and well, I think he took that personally. So no matter what you're going to say to him, pretty sure he's not going to listen to you.
We'll see about that. I'm sure everyone has their price.
Well, that's an interesting way to go about it, I suppose. Robbery. Master Gurnow is one who enjoys certain luxuries. However, if I can make a recommendation, maybe go see those friends of yours, talk some sense into them, get them to admit to their crime and apologize, and maybe the punishment be lessened.
Yeah, I should have a word with them. I know they're locked down south, but we can't cross tonight.
Yeah, the ferry stops running before dark. But they'll be up again just after dawn.
But it might be a bit difficult. My friends that I traveled here with, they've gotten themselves into trouble too.
He just kind of shakes his head. Well, I tell you, you are surrounded by trouble, Mr. Dwarf. Maybe you better find yourselves a group of new friends, maybe, before they kind of pull you into it.
We kind of keep each other straight.
Well, you, I guess, haven't been doing your share of things, haven't you? Because they're the ones in trouble. You're the ones sitting here with me.
You got me there.
Well, he kind of gets up at this point, takes the last kind of swig. He's like, well, wish you luck. Enjoy the city.
Don't worry, that
And,
drink's on me.
Starting your bribery early, are you? Kind of pats you on the back. Well, I will go ahead and take you up on that offer. Titus, Dwarf's got me. And he kind of comes over at this point, kind of gets in your face.
Okay, Tom, no problem. Dwarf's going to pay for your tab, no problem. You want to pay for the whole tab? The 3 more that you drank before this one and the two servings, you going to pay for that as well, Dwarf? Or is he just going to pay for the 1 drink?
No, don't worry, I'll handle it all.
No, I wasn't worried at all. Were you worried? What are you worried about? You're worried about me, aren't you? Worried about me because none of your friends are around. Now you're worried now that you're alone and by yourself. They're Timothy Titus is going to do something to you, right? You're going to wander up to your room. You got none of your friends around to protect you, and I'm going to come up there and I'm going to smother you. I'm going to beat you to death. I'm just going to take your head and just pound away on it like it's a drum. That's what you're thinking, isn't it?
No, you wouldn't do that at all, right?
Maybe. I will not. Maybe I will. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm just kidding. Of course I won't do that. Are you crazy? I want to get as many nights out of you as I can before I pummel you into a little tiny piss.
Yeah, you point me out to the outhouse. That's too. I don't know what you put in it, but it's kind of got my tummy rumbling.
Oh, I told you. Poison. Lots of it. Tons of poison. All the poison we could find. It's out back. That's why it's called that.
Good night, Timothy.
You too.
And so you wander out. You say goodbye to the guards you spoke with. And we'll cut to Daggett. Daggett, you have been hiding in the shadows. You have been kind of trying to await some sort of signal. Go ahead and why don't you roll an awareness test?
Is this to detect danger?
Yes, indeed.
Then I will use my armband of the Mirdan.
Ah, okay. The thing that you've thrown away multiple times. Discarded.
Do I have to use the hope to get the +2 d6?
For the armband, you just get it.
Okay, because it allows the player to achieve a magical success. That's with the hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, that's the. Wait, you're talking about the item description?
Yeah.
Yeah, the item description. Just read it literally. If it doesn't say spend a hope, then you're good. You can just do it.
Okay.
Are you actually taking the magical success?
I am getting a great success.
Okay. So you're sitting here, you're watching, it's late, you haven't seen them exit, and you see the traffic on the roads has dwindled to just maybe 1 or 2 every 10 minutes or so, and it's mostly guards. When suddenly you hear from the northeast a scream, a yell, like, ah! As if someone was attacked in pain, that kind of thing. You're able to, with your extra success, specifically localize it. You can see off to the northeast. Remember, you're by the Red Palace, which is all those candles lit up. So there's something like a beacon in the darkness, but it kind of sheds the light a little bit further. You can see there's a handful of what look like trees, maybe fruit trees off to the northwest, and kind of in that kind of outer district area. You're pretty sure it's coming from over there.
I wouldn't recognize the scream or anything.
No, you wouldn't recognize the scream.
Okay.
No. It sounds
just
like
make sure it's not a Rennie or Gilly.
by a cart.
Yeah. I'll start running to it.
Okay. You start running over, and when you look around and you're kind of like, you get up to this what looks like it's not a planned grove, but it almost looks like a grove of like apple trees. You feel this like cold wind sort of catch you off guard because it's been so hot of late, kind of rushing through the branches and the fruit. And you see no signs immediately of it, of like the source of it, but you do notice that there is a basket on the ground tipped over onto its side, and there's a handful of apples that have been spilt out, and no sign in the immediate area of who might have been carrying it.
I will not go near that basket because a guard will see me near it and accuse me of stealing it or killing someone.
Oh, you guys
so I will
some apples, are you? You're stealing
I'm
the
gonna
master's apples.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not falling for it, Jeff. I'm not taking the bait.
Okay.
I will start looking around though, just like waiting and trying to check all the alleys and stuff.
You can do like a scan. You can do scan probably makes the most sense in this case. Yeah.
I am so glad my tray is here. That's another great success.
she's taking all the hate. Like, was it a cine
I'm
or something?
telling
That's
you,
basically
it's going to that's what's going to happen now.
God damn.
That's what
Yes.
I bring to the party.
Great success. Okay, so I'll say you find two things then with those successes. First, you find rustling around in this big uncouth bush of vegetation nearby. You see it moving, and you go over. Maybe you take a weapon. You kind of peer through the branches, and you see there is a sheep that's just kind of cowering in fear, and you see it just shaking and shaking and shaking. The other thing you notice is that as you're moving around this grove area, you do find there are some kind of crude drag marks that seem to be leading even further northeast, like kind of even to the further outer portions of the districts.
Like towards the sheep is where the drag marks are going?
No, away from this grove area. In the grove area, that's where the sheep is. It's just hiding in a bush nearby.
All right. I'll pull the sheep out, give it a little kick on the rump to get it going, and I'll start following the drag marks.
Okay, and it goes, "Meow," and it starts running away, looking back over its shoulder, giving you a dirty look. So you start moving a little further, and I'll ping for you a little bit on the map, kind of where you're at. So in the Tharbad map, you were, let's see. Actually, let me put it on here too. So you were kind of hiding out, kind of sort of near the Red Palace. You heard the sound a little bit further northeast, kind of in the area where I'm pinging now. And then now that you kind of start following these drag marks, it's taking you further and further to what was described to you as the Ram. Now, the Ram was once long ago like a wall that kind of enclosed the city, but now it's mostly just part road, part rubble. And it just is there. That kind of, it still gives you the vague semblance that this was the sort of outer shape of the city. But that seems to be where it's taking you. Now, when you get onto this road, or just before the remnants of the Ram, you hear the sound of like clinking metals, and you look up, and you see a woman who's walking towards you. She's fairly tall, well-clad suit of armor, and she says with a fairly thick accent, "What seems to be the trouble?"
I heard a scream. I came to investigate.
She nods. "Which way?"
I'll point like the way the drag marks seem to be going.
Okay. Do you continue, or do you just let her handle it?
I'll definitely let her take point, but I'm gonna follow along in I guess lollygag.
So you move out a little bit further, and you kind of pass through this sort of seam in the wall. And as you do, you see that maybe about 30 feet away from you, barely on the edge of like your vision, you can see that there is a very large creature that seems to be dragging a man who you're not sure if they're conscious or alive, but they're just sort of almost like getting ragdolled. They're being dragged away and out of the city and kind of into the swampy areas. What would you like to do?
You see that? I pointed out to her.
She kind of looks down at you. She looks over at it, and you can see she kind of drops this spear and she starts hustling in the direction of that warg. What do you want to do?
I'm going with her.
Okay, so you start.
I've been looking
up.
for a fight.
Okay, so start charging up, and this creature just kind of stops at this point as it looks up and it sees that it's now has company. Its eyes kind of like you can see this sudden glow from either the moonlight or some of the lantern light from the city, kind of makes its eyes suddenly appear, and you hear and see like it start to sort of snarl a bit, and you can just kind of look at it, and it's this giant shouldered, huge haunches. It's almost got this hump behind it, but it looks very much like a wolf or warg. It's got this distorted looking face. When its teeth get bared, you see blood and saliva begin to drip down. And as you start charging, it does the same thing. It leans back, and then it does its classic warg leap, and you just see it leap in the air. And it's going to try to dive right on top of the two of you. Go ahead, if you can, make an athletics test. Let's see if
I will spend a hope for a magical success.
Okay.
The stone necklace around my neck starts to glow, and I will roll very poorly here.
Okay.
Yeah, just the one magic success.
You tumble underneath and stand up on the other side as it lands down, and you can see the earth kind of kick up, all sorts of debris and dust, and then it sort of turns back around. We're not going to do full initiative, but what would you like to do here, Daggett?
I will swing Block Fong at it.
Yes, please. please swing Block Fong. You're such a freak. Go right ahead.
Oh my goodness. That is 3 successes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. What would
I've never had luck like this before.
What would you like to do with them?
I would like to I can't make it piercing. I rolled a 7 on the feet die. So
blow.
just heavy blow twice.
What's the total?
6, 12, 18.
Daggett, I would invite you to describe your kill.
Hell yes!
You just one-shot this thing.
Oh, all right. I really owe it to my trade, but she's not here right now. So the warg jumps over me, and I just kind of do a Kirk shoulder roll underneath it. And as it lands, it like spins around, and I'm already up and swinging my axe down where it's going to be, just hitting it right in the middle of the skull.
And so it like whips around, your axe comes through and just hews right into its skull. You don't get clear through it. You feel the axe eventually stop, but you've gotten further enough through the bone. You wrench it free, and it lays and falls limp onto the ground. You look up, and you can see the woman kind of clad in this armor. Looks nothing like the bandit guards, by the way. She kind of looks down at you. She looks at the warg, and she just kind of gives you a curt nod, and then she starts to walk away.
Thanks for the help.
She just starts to walk away. She doesn't even say anything to you as you walk away.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
Continue to walk away. There's the man on the ground.
I'll check
anything?
the man. I'm not really a healer, but I'll see what I can do.
He is not dead, but he is bleeding profusely as he has suffered several bites, claw marks and things. He appears to be unconscious. If you would like to try to sort of stem the bleeding in a way that might make him safer for travel, please go ahead and roll a healing test.
I have 0 pips in healing and an 18 target number. So
you,
I would
Tolkien.
need a Gandalf,
Okay. You also have...
which I did not
audience-
get.
There's audience stuff too, don't forget. And Tolkien Purist,
So-
thank you so much for those bits.
I'll be like grabbing a whole bunch of moss, which is probably just more like dead grass around here. And I'll just be like kind of mashing it and trying to hold pressure. But I really don't know what I'm doing.
Just to rub dirt in it, just really and truly.
So
That's what my mom did for me.
As you're literally rubbing dirt and infecting this wound, maybe you look up to call out to see if the woman can help. And as you look up, you see as she's like walking back through the ram into the ruins of the city, she never turns back, and she just sort of fades and sort of dissipates and is no longer there.
Oh, Gilly's gonna love that. Oh crap, he's still bleeding.
So if you hurry, you can probably bring him to like one of the bandit guards or something like that by the toll gate. You can bring them back somewhere inside the city. But he's definitely in not great shape. If you want to just sort of carry
Would it be
him back.
too far to drag him where I saw Gilly and Erennial went?
To the Red Palace?
Yeah. Would that be too far?
Okay.
Okay.
No, you can. I mean,
Create some sort of distraction that can pull people out of there, I guess. I don't know.
You are strong enough that I think you can just carry him if you would like.
Okay.
You don't have to drag him.
Well,
I mean,
heave
you
him
can
up.
if you like.
Grass and dirt that I rubbed on him starts falling on top of me. And I just start hoofing it to the Red Palace.
Okay, and so what we'll say is you're going to get there roughly around the time when we see Gilly and Erennial. And then I would say for Daggett, you wouldn't know who this third person is, but the rest of us know it's Terraneth, are actually exiting the Red Palace. And they are on that main step that's in front of, remember, that has the two statues of Elendil and Isildur that unfortunately our ranger Erennial couldn't identify, if I recall.
Yeah, that was a bad roll. Pretty
and
embarrassing.
the three of you exit. You're on the steps by these statues. There's a couple of the other bandit guards around, chatting about whatever it is you're chatting. And you see coming up, there is a dwarf in the shadows carrying a man who is bleeding profusely. You all play the scene out. What does everyone do?
Gilly, I need help. I swear it wasn't me this time.
Oh God. Okay. And Gilly starts rushing over.
Okay.
I started to clot the wound with dirt, and I found some grass.
No, thank you for trying.
moss.
We need to have a explanation on first aid, maybe one of these days, but probably not right now. And she's got like her thing of water that she pulls out to pour on it to help clean the wound.
I saw there was a lot of blood, so I was trying to soak it up.
Yeah, definitely. Pressure on the wound is the way to go to stem the bleeding. This could hopefully not cause an infection. And I would like to do a healing roll.
Absolutely, go right ahead. While you're doing that, one of the bandit guards come out. What's the meaning of this? Did this dwarf hurt and attack this man?
Nothing happened. Nothing. No, Master Cornell just released these people into Tharbad. Don't worry.
No, Daggett, what happened? What attacked this man?
Don't remember.
It was a warg. Almost made it into the city. It was right on the city's edge.
A what?
A warg. You need to do your job. Start guarding the city.
I'll guard the palace. No one's attacking the palace.
What about your people outside the palace? Do you not care about them? How are you going to get your taxes without them being alive?
We've got other people who do other garden.
I just
turn
away from him.
Did you kill it? Is it dead at least?
Of course it's dead. What kind of question is that?
I'm just confirming. And I passed. I get a great success on this guy.
And you're able to staunch the bleeding. Everything's okay. It's going to take a while probably for this man to recover. He probably needs a place to rest. The guard doesn't know who this guy is, has no identify, but that's not necessarily surprising. but you're not sure exactly who this man is. You just know that he was kind of picking apples in the outer district where he shouldn't have been at this time of night, technically. Okay.
Sir,
does Taras know this guard just visually? Like, is it someone?
The guard you're talking? The guy?
Yeah. Not the guard, not the guy. The guard.
Oh, the guard? I'm sure you would probably have had encounters with all of the guards at some point.
So I'm using that familiarity then to sort of talk him down. Like, they're with me. They look a lot more. I don't worry about it.
Okay.
Who are you?
Master Dwarf. I'm happy to introduce myself. once we leave this place.
Okay, off topic. This poor man, do we have a place where we can take him to be healed? And she's saying this to the guard.
Can we just take him?
Can we just take him to the weapons room on the ground floor? Can we just take him over there? Probably don't need to keep him there for longer than a little bit.
Okay, but you can bring him inside. We'll fetch a healer. Fine, hurry up. Let's go. I'm not carrying him. I don't want to get blood on me, Tony.
You don't have to carry him. I'll take him in, and I will help Gilly.
And he kind of leans down and looks at Daggett a little bit. He's like, "You one of them dwarves who's working on the bridge? You're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be on the middle island."
No. We just came in today.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but you're not a dwarf. Not sure if you've seen, but you're quite tall. This here
Yes, I'm
is a
just
dwarf.
saying this is a traveling companion of mine, so I can vouch for the fact that he was not working on something earlier.
So, Tyrannith is vouching for you, and then you're vouching for him. So, by the transitive property, it means that Tyrannith is vouching for the dwarf.
That's
Okay,
that's right. That's
I
right.
think that works out then. You can go ahead, bring him in. I'll fetch a healer. I'll take care of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I did. He just needs to rest. He should be fine.
Young lady, I'm going to fetch a healer, and then they'll decide what the proper course of action's going to be. Oh my goodness. Is this your child, young? Yeah, she kind of looks again over at Aurelian.
And she just looks at her, and Gilly just looks at Aurelian and just like shakes her head like it's not worth it.
Oh, okay.
I would
Daggett,
suggest we just take the man to the weapons room as we discussed.
Yes, thank you, Taryn. Let's and she lets you pick him up mostly, and she like holds his hand as I follow you back into the building.
And Aurelian's going to lean over to Daggett.
What are we doing? We're friends with the guards now?
You took out the warg. Just you, or more than one of you?
Of course it was just me.
Well, I'm assuming you were trying to assist us. What about? And she's just sort of covering her mouth as she kind of talks like, it was just you, or
It was just me.
no one else was.
You think I can't kill a warg by myself?
Oh no! I was more just wondering if you were the only one that was trying to get us out of here.
Floyd said he thought you were good.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah. So that's I don't know you. I don't think I knew you then, but that's my friend, Tara.
Why are we friends with the guards?
They're
the ones who robbed us on the way in.
Yes, I am quite curious myself. I have not seen her since 2 Yules ago. We spent some time together, and we have not seen each other since. It is quite the good fortune that she is here and was able to get us out so quickly.
How well do you know her? If it's been 2 Yules, she could be one of these thugs now.
No, it's just not possible.
It's possible.
And Aurelian just sort of folds her arms.
Okay.
It is just not possible.
So meanwhile, as you're doing this, like you overhear the guards kind of say the transitive property is when you have and he's like explaining it, and then there's the associative property. Oh, I'm very good with mathematics. You know, my mother wanted me to be an engineer, but then she died, and it was a very sad story. Anyhow, we've taken your man inside, and we're tending to the healer. They've gone and made sure they had a nice pile of dirt to rub into the wounds so that it heals up all properly. I'm sorry, miss. Infection? What's that?
And Gilly's just like, we should go back home to sleep. Titus
You have a
probably
home
has...
here?
No, we're at the inn with Titus.
Okay. Well, I think you should probably return to the Bridge Inn instead of loitering in front of the Red Palace. I would not want to arrest all of you again for loitering this time. So off with you.
You're right, of course. We'll go. And Tara will say to Gilly quietly, like, there's no reason for them to do anything but heal this man. He'll be fine.
Let's just go.
Yeah, well,
have a great night, sir. It was so nice to
later.
meet you. And then Gilly turns and she just starts stomping back towards the inn.
Wait, we'll go? She's coming with us? Don't you have some sort of barracks to hole up in, or
no? I'm staying with Titus. He has the best rooms in town. Are you staying with Titus? You should stay with Titus. And she says to Arminio.
We had been staying with Titus. The stew is good.
Oh, he likes to joke about it being poisoned. I don't think it's poisoned. I did have a bad stomach the first day, but I don't think it was poison.
Okay, that
it
is
potentially could be poison, and it's just a minimal amount. And
Maybe
then eventually you're building up a resistance to it.
Maybe.
So he's helping probably the entire city by helping you all be resistant to poison. And I think that's a smart decision because poison could be dangerous.
He is oddly kind. So that does sound like a version of his kindness.
He reminds me of home, honestly. It's a breath of fresh air.
Why are we still talking about the stew? Do you work for Master Gurnow or not?
It's complicated, Master.
I mean, she knows a Renial, so she's fine.
Complicated. A yes or a no would answer the question.
I work for Master Gurnow in that I get information.
So you're a thief. All right, it's settled.
I have done some thieving, but I wouldn't call myself a thief. Just like I am sure you have done some killing, but you wouldn't call yourself a killer. Or would you call yourself a killer?
Kind of cocks his head and thinks about it.
I mean, you did just take out that warg all by yourself, right?
You killed a warg by yourself.
Michael Dorn is gone.
Once Gilly hears that,
so
she gives Daggett an aggressive high five.
That is incredible, Master Dwarf. You killed a warg all by yourself. There have been, actually, Ari, I would like an audience with you. I didn't expect to see you in town, but now that you are here, I could use the help.
Well, most certainly. And when I saw you, you helped me craft that song of our fellowship's adventures so far. And
did you end up finding a rhyme for Hobbit?
I don't.
She did something like Bobbit or something. We're still actively working on it.
Right.
I think yes, it was Bobbit or some such thing.
Let's get off the streets before we're arrested again. If we could please head to
I have a brother named
conversation. Say you're having this conversation as you work your way back to the Bridge Inn.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so
is Floy still up when we get to the Bridge Inn?
Floy, are you still up as they push the door?
The door out to the outhouse. Guys, you're back. I've been so worried about you.
He's got toilet paper on his boot.
You were so worried about us. You came back here. We've known this one, and she points to Daggett, for few months, and he ensures our safety, and you
I have personal business. I had a bit of an emergency. You're a Renial.
He did come out of the outhouse, and he did have 4 bowls of stew.
I knew you'd be fine. You're back all in one piece. It looks like you've even made a friend. Who is this?
I didn't make. I did make a friend, but it was many years ago that I made the friend. If you remember, a few years ago, I told you I hung out with my friend Taranis.
I might have been listening or not, but could you reintroduce me?
And Renio is just distraught with Floyd right now. And she just sort of like sighs a little bit and then just sort of gestures over to Tara. She generally takes care of her own introductions.
I'm Tara. Master Dwarf, I don't think I've been formally introduced to you either. And she says to Daggett, and neither you, Miss Hobbit. And sorry, is that the meta? Is that the proper honorific? Because
it wants to handle it.
It's a moment of like it is something she's saying with with respect. Like she's like okay. Now I am Darren. I am similar to a Renial. I am a ranger of the north, but we keep that quiet in these parts.
Well met, Tyranneth. I am
you're
Floyd.
Very south for being from the north.
There's more people down here. I do better with more people.
Huh.
This is why we have the friendship where we maybe see each other every few mules. Tara is much more into talking to lots of people all the time than I am.
So, Meta Iridials described Tara as her drinking gal pal who she can only take in small doses, which was obviously a huge stretch for me roleplay wise. So that's who this character is.
It is fantastic that one line in my note of what I did a few years ago of literally just Taranis, drinking gal, fun in small doses, is now turned into an actual member of the fellowship.
So great.
And Aurelia would turn to Tara though after sort of the introductions happen and just say, I have to ask though, and I think we are all curious, how exactly did you find yourself in the employ of the master here?
She kind of says with some familiarity of you know how the people in charge are. It's no, they are. So I requested a posting in Tharbad, and they said that I would be able to if I could really understand some of the rumors that were being circulated. There's a shadowy figure who apparently controls several wargs, which is why I'm very interested to hear more about this warg that your friend killed, because they are not seen individually in these parts as much. So I'm curious to hear more about that. But once I got here, I learned very quickly, as I'm sure you already have as well, which is that you don't get very far without Master Gurna's fingers in the places that you need to get. He keeps a very tight hold of everything. It is very smart to work for him when you're in town, if you want to get anything done.
Sorry, go ahead, Floy.
I was going to say, how'd it go with Master Gurnow? It seems he released you.
It could have gone better. Tara laughs uncomfortably. But I think it's okay. As long as we give him his proper respects, he is fine.
Yeah, so if Aureliel and I get caught doing anything else again, we're probably going to get put in the pillory and Tyranneth as well. So let's avoid that, please.
Speaking of the pillory, we should go see the dwarves tomorrow morning.
Yes, I agree. Let's get some rest, I guess. This is a very eventful.
Are you one of those that put those dwarves in the pillory?
I am not. I sadly got here. I was sadly unable to do much about that. It was
I give a little
unfortunate
nod.
and it should not have happened.
Well, I am Daggett, son of Snook, and I do not take kindly to tyrants and thugs, so tread carefully.
I would be a little softer about that around Master Garnow. He is both.
Oh, I know.
So we'll say that you had some of this conversation outside in front of this outhouse, and you work your way.
As a drunk guy tried to get in.
He's like, yeah, it's fine. I can't hold it longer. And you open the door. Standing right there as you open the door is the 6'5" frame of Timothy Titus with his giant hands. The place is empty. It's just him at this point.
Hello, good evening. Are you going to sleep? Do you need anything else tonight, Cap? Do you need something like a mitt on your pillow or something like that? I've got some brandy. It's not really brandy. It's really just brew. But I can make it and say it's brandy, and I can put a little cinnamon in it if you want that.
Oh, I'll take some of that.
And milk. I've got milk if you want.
No milk. No milk. No milk.
Floy, are you okay?
So, okay. The rest of you, Miss Gilly.
I'm just ready to go to bed.
Okay. You right here. I'm gonna get the other thing. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna carry you up and I'll put you in the bed and I'm gonna tuck you in so tight that if you wanted to get out in the middle of the night, you wouldn't be able to.
And he kind of runs off.
Sounds good. And
Okay.
Gilly just is tired and waits there.
So we'll say scene passes. Anyone who wants a nightcap gets it. Gilly gets the most aggressive tuck in her life, but he's very nice about it.
I imagine
then-
I'm like in a room with Aurenial, so there's two
Yes.
beds on either side.
Yes.
And Aurenial's just sitting there watching as I'm getting aggressively just tucked in.
And yeah, you're aggressively tucked in. He's like,
What about you, Miss Serenia? Would you like to get aggressively tucked in as well?
Do I look like I want to get tucked in? And
If
she
you're gonna
makes
leave
the
it up
like
to me, I'm gonna
meanest.
say yes. So you probably shouldn't leave it up to me. You probably should actually
No.
say the answer. There. Okay. Good night.
Meanwhile, Tyrannus is waiting outside, waiting for the tucket. Just like Titus, come on.
So he just goes up and down the floor, just tucking the people that wants. All right, so we'll say night passes uneventfully. You guys are
I'm
fine.
spiking the door.
So yeah, one of the things that the original four we forgot to do when we arrived, by the way, we forgot to do our travel end. So we should do that really fast because you're about to get a full night's sleep. So Taryn, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have any travel fatigue. But the rest of you, we should have done this already. But let's go ahead and figure that out. So
we were excited.
yeah. So you first of all, if you have a mount, you can subtract the mount's vigor from the fatigue that you might have accrued during the travel.
Mm-hmm.
2 for my
And-
pony.
And then
for
you
me.
perfect. And then roll a travel test. And for each success, you reduce your fatigue by 1.
Oh, I got a great success.
So you would be
So
able to
that's 2.
remove 2 more. Yep.
I also got a great success.
Same thing for you. 2 more.
Oh,
Gilly, you
Renil
get
did not
one more.
roll as she does not take fatigue during travel.
Oh, how do you not take fatigue? What ability gives you that?
Don't.
You both have it now, right? Like Taranith is going to have this too, right? It's a ranger thing, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
I can't remember if it came with character creation or for something that I got.
It's probably not even a real
later.
thing, and Melissa's just been cheating this whole time. People who know the game are like, "What is he doing? Why is he letting her not have fatigue?" This whole time.
It's there you go with Nightbot.
All right. Morning will come. You can, and then since you're having a full night's rest, prolonged rest, those of you can remove an additional fatigue if you have one. And we are back. Morning has come. The dawn has sun has risen. The light comes through the windows in your rooms. I'm not going to get too creepy with Titus, who's not waiting there to help you out of bed, Gilly, but you probably need a little bit of Renial's help because the tuck
Yeah.
is significant. But we'll say you all eventually kind of go through your morning process. You wake up in the morning, you go downstairs, you get some breakfast, etc., and you are together. Morning of Tharbad. What's the plan? What do you guys want to do?
One thing, bookkeeping. Could I, since we're ending the travel, does that make an adventuring phase? Could I spend a fellowship to regain a hope?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That is fine. Okay.
Yes, we basically took a long rest, so that's when that can happen.
Cool.
So what is the plan? You have Tharbad, you have all sorts of these little rumors and things going on. Wargs, this huntsman figure, issues with Thorvim and Thebe, the dwarves that are in the south side. Other places in the city. What do you guys feel like doing?
As we're kind of getting sorry, Stephen, go ahead.
No, you first.
I was just gonna say as we're getting together in the morning, I think Tara will ask to speak with everybody, to get some help on the things she's been kind of following up on.
That gives you a scowl.
Unless,
Okay.
of course, there was a specific reason for you to come here.
Well, we can hear about your issues that you've encountered, but I'd like to go visit our friends down south.
Yeah, we do need to check in with Orbum and TV.
It's a great injustice to pillory dwarves for public shaming.
I agree.
Harry, you can update us while you show us how to catch the ferry.
Certainly.
Okay. Easy enough done. I played the wrong track. That's easily enough. So you head on out, and you kind of get down by the north bank. The ferries come every so often. Usually they wait for a couple people, then they kind of travel across. But there's, now that you're in the light of day, those of you who are new to the city, you can much more easily tell the sheer ruin of the place. Like, it was somewhat lost in the darkness and in the sort of the sunset, but here there is, I would say, especially for the dwarves, maybe even for Gilly being a scholar, like as you're moving through the streets, like it's abundantly clear how this place must have been majestic and immense at one point in time, and to see where it is now, where walls are crumbling, where masonry is sort of clearly decaying in some fashion, where newer kind of patching has been done at far lesser quality than whoever it was that designed these buildings, these roads prior. So it's an even more kind of dour look. It's also a busier city in the morning, as you're seeing people moving about here and there. Some are also trying to get on the ferry to either go to the middle island or go into the south bank. Others are kind of coming and going from the city. Some are venturing northward to some of the farms. Some are kind of going to the markets here and there. But eventually you head southward, and you kind of wait around, and you will in fact get on one of these ferries. When you kind of start venturing across the water, you can tell the water is murky as can be. You cannot see the bottom. It's very dark. It's very muddy in some cases. They're kind of using these long poles. There's oars, but they're using mostly these poles to kind of push across. The ferry master is sort of explaining to you as you kind of travel that, like, dangerous waters, don't want to go swimming around in these. There's all sorts of strange little creepy crawlies. I heard, from down in Londair, there used to be a giant monster that used to be swimming around. Used to kind of attack some of the boats coming up from the ocean there. But we don't really have that problem around here. Most boats can't even make it through here. Only the small ones, like this one and like a few of the others. But you try to get a big enough boat through here, well, it'll just get torn up with all the various sundries and growth and things like that have been built up. So be careful around here. You're liable to kind of get your foot caught or your arm caught and get dragged down here and there. Wouldn't be the first time we've had people had to fish some drowned folk out of the river. Wouldn't be the first time at all. So, that's why you got to make sure you get on your ferries. Don't go getting any bright ideas to do it yourself. Okay. All right. That'll be 4 silver. And he kind of like hands over as he kind of goes through this whole process.
After he talks, Tara will ask, like, do you obviously know much more than what there is to know about this area. I have been looking for a friend of mine that would have arrived with a large pack of animals, probably sometime after sunset in the previous few weeks. Have you heard of anything like that?
Face gets really pale all of a sudden. Friends? Your friends?
No, not friends. Just people.
Starts to
people
back
I
away
know.
from you slightly.
Just people I know. People I know.
Oh well, I've heard things. There's been things on the river. Yeah. Well, there's the dock sails, old crappy boat, and some fella with a green lantern just sort of hanging off there in the.
And
Tarnas in the dark
gets real serious.
What have you heard of the huntsman?
I mean, that's what people call the fellow. I don't know if that's his real name or not, but I haven't seen it myself. But others have. It came through not too long ago, maybe a fortnight, 3 weeks, maybe a month, not sure. But they saw the dark sails on the river kind of come up from Londare, and they've been.
I'm surprised the boat was small enough to ferry these waters.
It's not a big ship. It's maybe big enough for a dozen.
Still docked here. Did you?
No.
It
Didn't dock here, and you never see it. You never see it in the light. You only see it. I haven't seen it, but those who've seen it said that when they were looking at it, there was a figure standing on it, tall as can be. It's like their clothes and their cloaks in the shadow all kind of wrapped around them, like it was all one thing. And if that wasn't enough to terrify you and make you wet your skivvies, then it turns and it looks at you with eyes of fire, and then you just hear in your voice just the whispers start coming. And they talk. At least that's what they told me. I haven't seen it myself.
You are brave for even hearing the stories.
And Gilly just kind of like looks at Erennial and Floyd with like those wide eyes, like, oh no.
So, Erennial, you have definitely seen this version of Tara before, like her like sussing out rumors and like this is kind of her shtick. Mm-hmm. And so this is not unfamiliar to you. But for everybody else, it might be a little bit weird that this random person is randomly asking questions about Servants of the Shadow.
Well, and when we if we are away from him a little bit, she might just sort of kind of mention like we've
when you get off the ferry,
similar ships with similar sails, but nowhere close to here.
What I have heard is that a few weeks ago, and it really does relate to what the men just said to us, which was that a few weeks ago was some dark sails on a ship carried the huntsman and his pack of wargs into town, and he has been attacking farms. I don't know exactly what the stories are, vague, and they are still too new for anyone to report with any veracity. And before all this, I would like to say that Tarnthat has specifically asked Erennial if she might accompany them on their travel.
I would love to have you, and I think you and Gilly both are lovers of the lore and the stories that I've always appreciated when you share those with me. And Gilly has quite the journals of all of our travels and all of the things that we have come across.
She'll let me read them. And she seems really nice, and we should just ask her really nicely.
If Gilly's nearby and she overhears it, she'll like look at you slyly. Maybe.
You definitely hear it. Tarnthat is not discreet.
Art?
But I love art.
And then she gets closer to you and she whispers, and dwarves?
I love dwarves.
Okay, no judgment.
Dwarves
Then I
love
will.
me.
And she'll let you look through her journal and like read her stories and stuff. And you'll see like in the margins, there's like drawings of like, it starts out really innocent of just like nature and stuff. And then eventually you can tell when she made it to like Gladstone.
Amazing.
And you're just like,
So-
oh.
You are incredibly talented, Miss Kittlegrass.
Thank you. No one else will see these.
No,
I refuse.
certainly. But that looks a little like Daggett.
There's several that probably look like Floyd, I would imagine.
And his brothers and his sisters,
Yeah.
whatever he has.
Yeah, the whole family, the whole Floyd family. All right, so
Amazing.
you get off on the south bank. There's that other, so the other side of the, and as you're passing by, you see the middle island as well. So you pass by the middle island, you can see there's crafters at work, and it's like, it's a sort of a dense island. Like there's forages on merchant stalls, on carpentry areas. Like everything is on top of each other. From a distance, you can see some dwarves working, but you also see plenty of humans and such as well. But they're all kind of cramped right on top of one another, like they barely have any space. You see the bridge as well. The bridge, like it's that one of those types of bridges that has a series of arches, almost like hopscotching across the across the river. But several chunks are just missing. You can see, I would say, Floyd and Daggett especially, you can see that there's been some kind of reinforcement beams have been sort of started to be put into place as if kind of getting ready to start trying to rebuild it. But you don't see any actual rebuilding process, just sort of like the early stages of it. When you get across, there's this tall tower. It's the Ringle Tower. Terneth would know the name of it. The rest of you, if you were talking enough to Titus last night, he probably would have told you. This is the city garrison. So this is where most of those guards kind of stay with here. And like you can see, there's a huge chunk of them kind of just lingering outside. Some are smoking, some are drinking, some are like kind of getting ready to move off on their on whatever it is they're doing. A few of them are kind of walking southward. Some of them are waiting for the ferry, etc. If you're looking specifically, so it's the first. I would imagine the first thing is we're going to see Thorvim and Thebe, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna look for where they're held at.
So if you ask Terneth can tell you, or you maybe have already gotten it from Titus, but you start heading to a place called the Stone of the Two Kingdoms, because that's what it's sort of vaguely called. And so on the map, you basically have to venture northeast up the coast of the river. And when you get there, you can see that there is a very beautiful marble column that's just sort of extending up into the sky a bit. And while you can recognize that there is a significant amount of kind of ornate and grandiose like architecture and stonecraft around here, you also can see that there is a gallows. There's no one currently on it. There's no ropes hanging from it, but you can see the gallows has been built and it's there. You can see that there are stocks and there are pillories. And within the pillories, you notice these two bushy heads, kind of sticking out there. You see there's a crowd of folks that's kind of nearby, but nothing's being thrown at them currently. No one's sort of like doing anything negative, but they're kind of waiting around, kind of watching here and there. And there are a couple of Gurnau's men that are in the area as well that just seems to be kind of waiting around, watching, making sure nothing funny happens. So what do y'all want to do?
Like to get as close as possible to sort of identify the bushy heads.
I'll say you get within maybe 10 feet. Maybe you probably are able to identify even sooner, but you're within 10 feet and you can see the head kind of tilts up and you see a dirtier, greasier, which is saying something, probably even a little skinnier Thorvim. You see, looks up at you. And he's like, Floyd, is that you?
Yes.
David. Still kind of looking, his eyes squinting. Is that you?
That's me, Floyd.
My
Phoebe.
eyes deceiving.
Davey, wake up. Davey, we've got visitors. And he kind of turns his head to the side and you see Thebe's head kind of come up. She got that her normally kind of fluffy, beautiful beard is all kind of greasy and matted down against her skin a bit as she looks up at you, and she's like, "Hi. Remember, between the two, Thorvum does the talking, Thebe does the decision making, and it's kind of like they're back and forth. But when Thorvum looks up at you, he's just like,
I wasn't sure if it was you because I haven't fed us for much for 2 days. I thought maybe I'm saying things like
Oh, I'm here in
That's
the
good.
flesh. I
It's
heard
good
you
to
guys
see
were
you, cousin.
getting older.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well, but it seems you're in rough conditions.
We've had better times, you know. I would probably rank this slightly behind our time up north, but definitely ahead of when Rotag and the others, moved through the hills and took out my folk. So, it could be better, could be worse. You know how it is.
How long have they had you strung up here?
2 days, I think. It's hard to tell. What we take a lot of naps, but we wake up with a lot of discomfort. I come out and say, "What time is it right about now? Is it just a wee bit past breakfast?" So it's not quite. They usually come around midday to ask us to confess or something, and then they leave us here for another day, and then they come out again. At least that's how it's been the last couple of days.
Oh, we've been hearing around town. Everyone's saying you guys are villains almost.
It's a strange town. It's not quite what I expected when we took on the contract. We've been here a few times before, but most of the times we just were in and out pretty fast. I can say good things and bad in most anybody. I will say I did care for Bree a bit more than here, to be honest. Better sights, that's for sure. Nicer architecture in some ways. But comfortable beds in Bree.
How much did they pay you for the contract?
"Oh, well, it was a fair contract. It was fair." And he'll rattle off some sort of he'll kind of go off for about 5 minutes on the contract and like what was required of them, what they were getting paid. It's very complicated. I don't have a copy of it anymore. I have it on file somewhere. Don't worry though. It was all in the up and up. However, these folk were not particularly forthcoming about the conditions for workers. They tried to drop us in the middle of, and he's trying to tilt his head and like not, and every time he's just like, "That's right, I'm in a pillory, never mind." And he's like, they dropped us in the middle of a very tight, no space, no room for nothing. And then they wouldn't let us leave. We couldn't even hop on a ferry and get off the island and go get a beer at a pub. It wasn't in the contract at all. So, we took matters into our own hands, and that's that. And he's always just like constantly wincing. His face is, and he's like kind of sunburnt on his face. Tops of his ears are like bright purple.
Sorry, Dick. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
No, go ahead.
I will pull out my water skin and start walking towards them. I am Daggett, son of Snook.
Now feeding and now feeding the prisoners. Now.
I'm ignoring that guy. I'm still like I can't even hear him.
Okay, and so you get up to I said, and then he starts coming over, and you feel a hand on the back of your shoulder. Like, "No, Mr. Dwarf, absolutely not. Them's against the rules." And he puts a hand down on your shoulder as you're like 2 feet away. What do you do? Daggett?
Pull back violently. I don't like shove him or anything, but I definitely like take a step back and like go into a combat stance.
"You better watch yourself there, Mr. Dwarf. You better watch yourself.
How dare you touch me?
How dare you break the master's rules? You're within his
I've
city.
read the rules. There is nothing about feeding dwarves in pillories.
There's rules and there's punishment, and they broke rules and they're suffering punishment. And if they would just admit to their crime and apologize, then maybe they wouldn't be here."
Captain, what are you seeking a confession for?
They need to admit that they were in fact fleeing the city. They need to admit the fact that they broke their contract with the masters, and they need to agree to go ahead and return to work and uphold the contract that was signed in good faith with the master.
And Tara will look over at that. And what part of this confession troubles you?
You're talking to the dwarves?
To
or
the
you
dwarves. I'm talking to the dwarves.
And he kind of looks. He tries to look at you like, "What?"
So I can't see it.
No, I'm sorry.
Over here?
I'm
Over
sorry.
here?
I'll-
No, that's not
I'll
here.
bend-
Someone else.
I'll-
over here. Oh, there you are. There you are.
I'll bend down and kneel so that I'm eye contact.
The biggest, I would say, is having to continue the work under the conditions in which they have expected us to work, and that some of our brethren, which we talked into coming with us into this endeavor, and they are still on the Middle Island, unable to leave. And until such conditions can be improved, we will not continue the contract, and we will not follow through, as we deem that the conditions that Master Gernau, has asked us to work in do not meet the spirit of the contract we signed.
That is reasonable. Thank you for the explanation.
I will
And,
take a knee in front of them.
Okay.
As I was saying, I am Daggett, son of Snook, and I promise you, I will see you in better condition before I leave this city.
It's very kind of you, Mr. Daggett, and the friend of my cousin Floyd is he's a friend of ours. I'm Thorvum. This is my
And he kind of looks around.
associate, Thaby.
And Daggett, you would be able to, and Gilly and Irinial, you know already, but Daggett, you would also look at it. You know that like dwarves are kind of, they don't really, dwarf women and dwarf men are kind of confused for each other by people who don't know, like by non-dwarves, right? But dwarves know. Dwarves can
beards.
tell. It's the beards, yeah. So that's how we're playing, and not that's how we do it in our version. But yeah, he said, and this is Steve, and she kind of looks over at you, just kind of tilt her head. Hello.
The pledges to you as well.
Okay. She doesn't speak a lot. Okay.
Tara walks up to the guards and wants to have a conversation with them, but if anybody else wants to do anything first, should do that.
Irinial
I'm getting in
wanted
a fight.
to try to take just a bit of her kind of the cloth sort of at the end of the sleeve of her cloak and take a little bit of kind of the water skin. And she's going to see if she can go over and just sort of like kind of pat their brow. And she's like not providing food. And she's just sort of seeing if this is going to be acceptable.
Okay. So you do
We're
that.
gonna push the
step
limits,
over.
Jeff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's fine. I have no problem if you guys want to get into a fight with the ruling bandit guards of this city. I have no problem with that. Your shadow points might, but I won't have a problem with it. No, you go over and you're like holding up the cloth, and he looks over at you. He looks at Taraneth and he's like, "Fawn, go ahead. And Master Dwarf, we're getting ready to feed them anyhow. If you want to give them water, give them water." Yeah, that was to you, Daggett.
Yeah, I'll give them water, and I'll pull out some rations as well, and make sure they get some decent food.
You can see
well-
the look on the guard's face is just sort of just you pushing it, but he doesn't do anything.
I'm gonna very specifically talk to the guard to try and turn his attention away. And I will I understand that it is your job to keep the prisoners in check and to get a confession, but it is not your job to make sure contracts are written with the spirit that is intended for them. So
That's true.
would argue that your seeking of a confession is overstepping your bounds.
I think you're missing the point of what my role in this is. I'm here just to make sure no one comes and tries to break them out. I was just explaining the greater situation.
Sure.
Whether or not they stay in these pillories and whether or not they admit to whatever they did, that's a higher pay grade than I particularly have. But until someone of rank and order tells me otherwise, they stay in the pillories and we follow proper procedure. And the procedures have been laid down quite clearly by the master, who you know, and I'm going to follow the rules. Because as you know, when one does not follow the rules, there are repercussions, as these dwarves are now facing.
I'm confident I can get you those orders.
If you think so, by all means, do what you like. But until I'm told by a superior of rank or by Master Gurnall himself, they remain pilloried and I'll remain on watch to ensure they are not harassed unduly or no one tries to break them free.
I understand. You are doing your job.
Indeed I am. Go for it.
Of them, how many associates have you brought?
It's Davey, myself, and then there's one. I don't have my fingers. I can't see them to count. Hold up your fingers. So
Yeah, you can use mine here.
Okay, 1, 2, 6, 8, 12. More than your hand, but less than 2 hands.
And still all the aisle.
Indeed, all of them. We were gonna go first.
He's kind of like looking up, and Taryn at this kind of pulled the guards away at this point, so you kind of talk a little bit more honestly.
We were gonna go first, and we were gonna see if we can find a way out. We heard maybe we could sneak into the Swan Fleet, the marshes, maybe lose them in there. There's rumors of folk in there that might be friendly, and if that didn't work, we were just going to use it to circumvent and try to sneak over onto the Great Road and head north, and eventually make it to Bree we were talking about going. But we wanted to make sure we can find a way out of the city first. Fortunately, we failed in that endeavor.
So this bridge, the conditions you speak of, you don't want to finish it.
We signed a contract in good faith. We had every intention of living within the city and repairing the bridge as best we can. It's not of our design, of course, but we can make it functional, suitable for travel again. However, we are not treated well. We have to share beds. We're delivered food. We're not allowed to freedom to move around the city at our own accord. They keep us and all of the other crafters, the brewers, the carpenters, fletchers, armor crafters, everyone, dwarf or human, they're down there on the island, and they can't leave. They have a brewmaster who makes the most exquisite brews. If he was in a better place, Bree, for instance, or if he even ventured southward all the way down to the human city of Gondor, he would find much greater purpose and success. But he's afraid to leave because he's threats to his product that they're going to destroy his caste, destroy his tools, and he would never be able to recover. They get these talented folk and they put them on the island, and they just use their fear, and then they trap them there, and then they get all their goods and things that help build the city up, and all for the excuse of it's necessary to keep Tharbad running. And maybe that's true. maybe it is true, because this place is dying, and there are dangers, and the city is not all bad either. But you gotta want to be here. You gotta be inspired to be here and do that work. You can't be forced to be here, and that's what he was doing to us.
This Gurnau fellow, you've met with him.
We were taken before him, we were tried and he questioned us and such, and he wanted us to admit that we broke contract. And I said, and as Thebe directed me to, that it was not I who broke the contract, it was he who broke the contract. And that is the dilemma.
The consequences of breaking this contract. He just puts you here.
For now, he's too cowardly to kill us, because he knows if he kills us, then the rest of the dwarves, well, they're not going to work. So he puts us here and we suffer the indignity of this, but we've suffered worse. We suffered worse with you, Floyd in the north. Those were good days, though. We had purpose. Now we're just waiting around in a city that's dying, doing work for a man who's just hanging on, keeping his power for the last remaining years of his life.
I've yet to meet him.
He's not particularly impressive.
And what do you guys think, Iridial, Gilly? Is this the man he speaks of? Your first impressions?
Everything that we've heard in rumor and Tara has confirmed, he himself leads from fear that if he did not retain these skilled folks against their will, no one would stay and the city would crumble further. There are adult children who may lead someday, but not just yet. And his wife, who apparently hates rangers for some reason. Yes, Kelly?
And Bree people. His
That's right. She was quite rude.
Yeah, Turnhow, he's working the South Roads. He's the oldest son. And
He makes a little bit of a face when you mention Thur now.
what do you know of him?
And he's been
Kind of looks to Floyd as best he can, cocking his head, looks back to you.
he's younger, but at the same time he's still raised by now, so he's got that there's a greediness to him. In another life he might have been a dwarf. And he's been asking questions. He's got this fanciful idea that he's going to put together some sort of expedition. He wants to head over to Moria, he says. He wants to treasures of that ancient dwarven land, and he's going to just loot the place and make a name for himself. That's what he says. There's a librarian, not that we've been able to meet her to go read any of their books. Thebe would be interested, but no, thank you. But she told him stories, and so now he thinks if he wants to make a name for himself, since his father won't just up and die and let him take over, he's got to do something for him. And so he keeps asking us questions. I don't know anything about Mori other than stories. Never been there, never been even close to the side of it. It's a tragic place.
What was the guy's name? What was his name?
Thurnow is Gurnow's son. Thurnow.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
He didn't necessarily. I'm not sure if he was trying to recruit us or just pump us for information. But anyhow, he's dealing with stuff down south.
And that's when he kind of lets out this big sigh, and he's like,
Floyd, I think they're back. I spent all that time taking out Rotag, breaking his army. Rumor has it, well, orcs, goblins, they're starting to amass again. At least they've returned. There's a squat one, thick as a tree trunk. I call him Aglor. Aglor the Unbroken. Yeah, I remember him. I remember him from up in Angmar. Big fella, tower shield, hard to hit. Many smaller orcs on his responsibility, and well, he's brought some back. It's not as big or as threatening as Rotek was, and the numbers are now fierce, and plus, it's not us that he's gonna take out anymore, but they're amassing. And then the Dunlins, well, we're not in the hills anymore, so they're moving northward and they're harassing the town, I think. So Thurnar's got his hands full, south side of the river, all the way down to Gondor. All the merchants coming up from there, getting harassed along the way. It's either orcs and goblins or it's these Dunlendings who just seem, well, they might look like men, but they behave. They behave like beasts times. Rough days, my friend.
Good info. A
That
little
is-
more about these folks you're trying to meet. The rebels.
I don't. No, not so much rebels. Honestly, I don't know much about it. It all might be rumor. But the Swan Fleet, the marshes, up a ways. They call them the Swan Fleeters. Creative. They hide in the marshes. The bogs, the crannies, that sort of thing. They don't much care for outsiders. But we got a name. Master Hugh Blackbriar, apparently, used to be one of Gurnow's bands of thieves, but got out somehow. And not just got out of the band, but got out of the city. We spoke to a Titus fella. He got out, but he's still in the city, plying a craft, all for the benefit of the city. I don't know how the man got out, but we were going to see if they could help us. But they don't got relations with Tharbad. It was just a pipe dream, really, an option. Ideally, we were just going to get out of the city and just flee on up to Bree, but if we couldn't make it all the way, we're going to find a place to lay low for a bit in the swamps where these bandits, guards, whatever you want to call them, they don't want to go there. They'll drown, probably.
Well, just as Daggett said, we're going to get you out of here.
Oh,
Just give us some time.
I'll believe you. I'll believe you. Yeah.
We
I
actually
feel better just knowing you're here.
We actually came here looking for you to see if you would help us back again in Angmar.
Return trip, are you?
Yeah,
Unfinished business.
it would
It's another
be our
discussion,
third.
yeah.
I'll tell you what, Miss Gilly, boy, you get us out of here and you get us out of the city, we will definitely, possibly consider it. No, I'm just joking with you. Of course we'll cut you back, but you gotta get us not out of these pillories, but out of this city.
Okay.
Iridia will pipe up and ask, you mentioned the older son. What do you know of the younger one?
They're useless. They're useless, they are. Squabbling over table scraps, each one of them. Not a single one of them, other than maybe Thurnau, has a spine. It's not entirely their fault. They've been kind of pitted against one another all their lives, from what I hear. No, they're not. I wouldn't go looking for help from them. That's barking up the wrong tree, I think.
Apple did not fall far, unfortunately, it sounds.
They do got good apples here. They really do. North side, a whole row of them. Delicious. Not that we get to see much of them. Every now and then someone will be kind and bring some to the crafters, but it's not part of our regular meal.
It's not in your contract, I assume.
Yeah, we didn't think we had to account for food like that. We figured we'd get paid and we'd purchase it as we properly would, or we'd grow it ourselves if we had a lot of land.
Yoli, that reminds me, I saw a ghost last night. I'll tell you later.
You tell me this. Now? And
I don't mean to interrupt. You go right ahead. We're just hanging around.
Aridia will sort of put a little more kind of water on her kind of cloak sleeve and just kind of dab their foreheads. Thank you very much for all of the local information. We had heard that this town had taken its toll. We will do what we can.
Happy to help. You old friends. We help each other.
Just hang in there a bit longer. We'll be back.
Is that a joke from Floyd? Hang in there? Listen, this fella. Oh, I'll hang in there. Sure we will. Sure we will. Isn't that right, Phoebe? She says.
Yep. I love Phoebe. Okay. Anything else with him, or anything else with Phoebe, or anything else with the guard? Okay.
I'm good.
So we say that scene ends. And is there anything else pressing you wanted to do? We could end now. We're right at the 2-hour mark. We could end right now, unless there's something pressing that you wanted to do before we finish up this session.
We're on the south side, so we're sort of just exploring this area.
Yeah, so if you just want to, I think we'd take a quick tour of the south side if you want. There's only a few like notable landmarks to the south side. Most of the population kind of hangs out. North side, you got the market, you got the Red Palace, obviously, the Bridge Inn, a couple other places. South side, the biggest thing you see is you got the tower, obviously, where the guards it's like their garrison, basically. You've got what's called the Roadhouse, the Roadhouse Inn. It's another inn on the south side. Taraneth, you've probably been there before. It's rowdy, but in a not good way, and it definitely there's a lot of guard presence there in ways that the Bridge Inn on the north doesn't necessarily have. Then you already seen the stone, but then on the far south, just through the causeway, just over the causeway. Like if you're coming from the south into the city, you would know that there's the old library, which is this sort of grandiose building. Well, it was once a grandiose building, and it's run by a woman by the name of Agna. Not many people really visit it, and when they do, they are watched like a hawk by this old lady. So,
definitely want to go to the library, but maybe that's a next session kind of a thing.
Okay. All right. So if that is that, I think this is probably a good place to stop. We actually got some good information there. We introduced our new player character. We have things to do. We have Thorvum and Thievi to save. We've got this huntsman to hunt down. So we've got plenty of things to do for next time. All right. Let's do some closing plugs. Maitre, where can everyone find you normally, and what do you do on the internet?
Mostly I invite myself to games that people are too polite to say no to, like this one. And but when I'm not doing that, I sometimes make videos on YouTube. They're system agnostic or multi-system, whatever you want to call it. My most recent one actually came out today, and it was a parody, but not really, of GM affirmations. So if you have 5 minutes and you need someone to tell you what a great GM you are, you should check that out. But otherwise,
I do need that, because they never give me praise.
We're so mean.
Except for Steven. Steven does.
I was about to say, I'll message you.
Steven's the only one who ever says nice things to me. The rest of them, Long has literally told me to my face that this sucked. Like, he has literally said stuff like that to me.
You kind of need that.
Bring you back down.
Nice to get the other part too every now and then. A little positive reinforcement at the same time, it's great. All right. Anything else? I dropped some links in the chat too for my Trace channel.
No, just thank you so much for having me. This is such a fun game, and I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Thank you for joining the fellowship.
I'm very excited.
So exciting.
Yes. All right. And then as for us, the rest of the stuff we have to do on this channel, our next game is Monday. You can catch Melissa and I. We are playing Call of Cthulhu. We are going through Horror on the Orient Express. We will probably be at it for the next 27 years. But we're going to be back there on Monday. We are in Paris. We're starting up a sort of a new area, so very excited. Tuesday, Stephen, what do we got going on?
We got Forbidden Lands. The party is bruised and broken, and I've been thinking all weekend how easy it would be to throw just a small encounter at you all and take at least one of you out, no problem. But I'm not going to let the intrusive thought win, and we'll go ahead and continue that campaign instead of ending it next week, maybe.
Listen, if you want to take someone out, I hear no one likes Wofford, so that could be.
He did lose an eye.
He did. He should lose the rest of his body at the same time.
Yeah, and then
That would be
Baksho
great.
dug his finger in the.
That was good.
Oh
Yeah, that was
gosh,
brutal.
I had forgotten
good.
about that.
Shout out to Aaron.
Thanks for
That was
reminding me.
that Aaron's playing his character, man. I'm so
Yeah,
glad
it was
Botcha
great.
did that.
It was great.
I'm so glad you didn't make me have to do like this Sophie's Choice moment where I'm like, oh my gosh, Mirren or Bacho. Like I can't make this decision. I was like,
Chad
I thought
actually
was gonna
brought that
happen.
up.
Mhm.
About how you were carrying two people, and I said you had to, otherwise the math wouldn't work for Wofford to survive.
Yeah.
And that was my ultimate goal, is to get him out of the fight. And
Yeah. Plus, I wasn't so much
continue on.
carrying as I was just sort of dragging them as they were
Yeah,
buoyant on the surface of water, which is different, right?
Yeah, very different.
Yeah, sort of.
Face
Plus,
down
you
in the
know,
water.
We've established Gunk is deceptively ripped. So that's I'm gonna say that's my. It's not my dark secret anymore, but it'll be something else. Let's see.
secret.
Yeah, next Friday. Speaking of Aaron, he's going to be stepping back into the GM seat, so he's going to be running us through more Conan as we have a party to finish, which we're very excited
Yep.
to do. And then we'll be back next Saturday with more One Ring. Also, go check out the YouTube channel. Look for Adventures in Lollygagging. We got all sorts of games up there, including games that are currently running, like Blade Runner. If you're a Free League fan, it's another one we have going on right now. We just finally got back to it last night. And you can also see Holler for Savage Worlds as well, as we do run some Savage Worlds on the channels as well. We're going to go ahead and raid somebody. Thank you to everyone who hung out tonight. Thank you to those of you who threw out some bits. Thank you to Maitre for joining the fellowship. We're very excited to have you.
Yes, thank you.
And have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. So, bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.